To call this meeting to order. Thank you for all of those that are in attendance. We realize we're starting a little bit earlier, but at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the flexible agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Miller and a second by Ms. Jansen. We will take public comment at this time on the flexible agenda. Seeing as there is none, we will close public comment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Will you please all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Knighting?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, we are going to take things in a little bit different order this evening to allow time for public comment that is not on the agenda. We will be taking public comment at the end of the meeting. That way it gives time for our public to get here. So we are going to start our meeting with agenda item number 5. The surplus of real property.
You want me to?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Alvarado, would you? Sorry, my brain
Yes.
totally dumped everything.
And we are combining item 5 and 6. I just want to make
Oh,
sure
yes,
that's what
correct.
we're
We
doing.
Yes, we're
Okay.
joining 5 and 6.
So combining 5 and 6 here. Let's just
So
talk
we have to
about.
vote on them separately, correct?
That's right.
Okay. All right.
So let's just kind of talk about the properties over on Mono Avenue. We have the district office property as well as the dog park property. I know it's not technically a dog park, but it's been utilized that way. So let's rewind back to November, where the board did authorize me to negotiate with JD Frisbee and the town of Minden to enter into an agreement to transfer responsibility of that adjacent parcel. So at that point, the board did, at the follow-up meeting in December, kind of shift the direction from a shared use agreement with the town of Minden to then appointing appraisers. There was some discussion about that. And so we went through a process on February 3rd where the board took action to formally appoint an appraiser locally. We contacted the state, Dr. Victor Wakefield, superintendent, and he appointed an appraiser from the state level. And then at the February 26th meeting, both appraisers gave their valuation reports to the board, and the board took no action on the resolution for surplus of real property at that time. So this item is coming back for the board to take formal action, either to adopt it or reject this resolution. And as we combine to item number 6, there was some discussion at the last board meeting as well. There was public comment about, the use of the district office, the historical value of the district office, and wanting this district office to be purchased by somebody locally. And so we brought you item number 6 at the request of Trustee Zinke, which is to negotiate for possible interlocal agreement with the town of Minden for transfer of ownership of the district office. So at this time, the board has an opportunity to discuss and should take action today on both of these items, on whether you want to pursue the sale of the district office through a public bidding process or through an interlocal agreement with the town of Minden. With the town of Minden, they can only pay the appraised value for this property. They are a public entity. And once again, we have 2 appraised values, right? Where we had our local appraiser come in just over 1.5 million. State appraiser came in at just over 1.7 million. And so that item specifically allows me to negotiate a final price and then have our attorney draft that interlocal agreement and then bring that back for board action. Remember, there's 2 parcels. So, there is the district office, 10,000 square feet on 0.7 acres, as well as the dog park parcel, which is adjacent, which is 0.7 acres. So the board has the ability today to sell both of those properties, to sell one of those properties. So at this time, I think it's appropriate for the board to start having discussions about all those items.
Thank you very much. All right, who would like to start us off? Mr.
I
Zinke.
just have a question to start. The agenda item on the tail end of item number 6, it says negotiations will be based on the appraisal values of the property and staff will return to the board for review and possible approval of any finalized agreement. Do we have to have that come back and approve it based on knowing what those values are, or can we yield our power to the superintendent to make that decision within parameters already discussed?
I think it needs to come back to the board for final approval. I mean, it's still the terms and conditions. We don't have all those right now, and those are going to be in the interlocal agreement if there is one. The final price, I mean, we generally know what probably that would be, but yeah, it still needs to come back to the board for approval.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair. So with that, I would say I think the town of Minden is a great idea for this property, especially in regards to what that means to the county. I don't know that a personal interest should be involved in that building. It's been a school, it's been the district office, it's been now vacant for a little bit, and we've had to make do. One thing we definitely need to figure out is if we do sell it, we need a place for the district office, right? We do need to put that somewhere. I do think we have the room throughout the district in one capacity or another. But I think we've already put a lot of wheels in motion for the interlocal agreement with the town of Minden. And I would think the negotiations between Superintendent Alvarado and the town of Minden would be sufficient, and then brought back to us, we could make a final decision.
Mr. Brady.
Maybe we could start with the superintendent's recommendation.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that. So the valuation reports from the appraisers were extremely disappointing. In initial conversations with some local commercial real estate agents, once again, they're not experts in appraisals. I'm no expert in real estate, but just in general conversations and walkthroughs of the district office, the two real estate agents that I spoke to felt that the district office was worth at least $200 a square foot. That would have valued the district office parcel in the 0.7 acres at about $2 million. And then, of course, the dog park parcel has a parking zoning, which is rare in the county. And that zoning for that parcel just naturally lowers the value of that property. It's an extensive process, and it's an expensive process to work with the town of Minden to revise the master plan. According to Mr. Zinke, he's right. We do have space across the district, but right now we are operating the district office at a Gardnerville Elementary School in two different buildings, right? And so we're somewhat disjointed, not necessarily all in the same building, able to collaborate at the same level. If we were in the same building, the district office is a perfect fit, on Mono Avenue for all of us, and everybody has a space. We have a conference room, all of those things. Based upon the valuation, I think that we should proceed forward with the dog park and consider moving back into the district office. It's, $1.5 million to me. The district office holds so much historical value. It's in a prestigious area of the county. And so that's pretty much my recommendation as superintendent. And I think we need to hold on to the things that we cherish, hold that historical value. But I'm also disappointed in the appraiser's valuation of it. But once again, they're the experts of that. And we started back in November talking about the dog park. And then we shifted right at the board's direction. So I think going back to the original idea of looking at the dog park and transferring ownership of that is in the best interest of the district.
So that would be selling off the dog park.
Correct. That would be selling that parcel. Yes.
Ms. Jansen.
So if the district office on Mono is the best place for the district office, I think that's a good idea, that we should keep the district office there, sell the dog park, And then we would have an empty elementary school that we could possibly sell next year for a much larger sum. So if we're looking to make money and also keep the district as, I don't know, in the best shape where Mr. Alvarado said that all the staff could be in one place and there is a conference room and it is the best location, centrally located. I tend to agree with Superintendent Alvarado.
One other piece of information, Department of Taxation has not written the memo they said they would to either tell us whether we can do that interfund loan. So I am assuming we cannot. Kelly Langley has submitted her retirement papers. And so she's already out the door. So I need to reach out to somebody above her to see if that is even an option. You know, that was a wild card and most of our wild cards have not panned out. Ultimately, it's the board's decision, right? It's your decision what we do with this property.
Ms. Knighting?
My concern in putting the district office not in its own building is I think it opens up some safety issues for whatever school we have the district office in. As it is now in Gardnerville Elementary, different clientele come to the district office and they're just let in, you know, the side door. To me, it's a safety issue. I would want the district office as its own entity. And where we're not getting what we thought we may get out of the district office, to me, it makes sense to have the district office as the district office again.
Ms. Jackson?
I agree with Melinda on all of that. And I agree with Frankie and the things that he said that we we looked at moving the district office hoping we could get a new attendance zone, right? If we moved it far enough away, it looks like that's not far enough. And so we're not going to be able to get that. We looked at also selling it to get enough to fulfill our own debt by getting a loan from the capital fund. And that's not going to work either. And so the reasons we were looking at selling it, I feel like have not panned out. And so really at this point, it doesn't make sense to sell it to keep it. But I do agree that we should get rid of the dog park, as Susan Jansen said. But I just feel like we do need to have a separate building where they can collaborate and be together and be more centrally located. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Brady?
I would agree with Trustee Jansen. The only challenge we have is to make sure that if we parcel off the wrong parcel, we're in trouble. So let's make sure that we have the right parcel for the dog park.
Ms. Miller?
No, everybody's made some really good points. I mean, obviously we were brought up with the potential liability of the park becoming official dog park. So I think that's where this started. And it is good for our community to have one location for our district office. I think it's good for our leaders to have a central location as well. And like, you know, Ms. Jackson stated, you know, we were hoping that with that attendance zone, but it's just not quite far enough out of reach to warrant that. And if we're not going to, like we've talked about with the potential of that loan, if it looks like that's not happening, I don't think that might be a good reason to to sell it off if we can't maximize it on the other end.
Thank you. Mr. Zinke, did you want to add to that?
I think all I would add to this is I know we're in a time crunch for a bunch of decision making that's being asked of us, but how we got to a spot where last week we were ready to put it in a bidding process and all of us agreed that it should go to the town of Minden, to now 2 weeks later, a week later, whatever it is, there's been so many meetings, I don't remember. Now everyone now is not thinking in those terms at all. And I just want to know what happened or what has happened. So Ms. Jackson has touched on it a little. We know that the zone for instruction is not going to be far enough away from the district office. And we know now there's not the $1.5 million potential for basically the loan to ourselves. But did we know this last week? Did we know this 2 weeks ago? You know, it feels like we are going in circles. We're chasing our tail, and maybe we are because of what is expected of us in a time frame, in a timely manner that we're trying to we're ready, fire, aim, it feels like. But I'm just confused. I don't understand what has changed in such a short period. Like 2 weeks ago, where did we think we were putting the district office? Was it, we didn't know, right? We didn't know if it was going to be Manili, which is why we moved a different agenda item to this meeting. We didn't know if it was going to be Pawaloo. We didn't know if it was going to stay. And so now all of a sudden it's none of those ideas are anything, and we're just going to throw it back in there. I just want to know, I want a better understanding of how we put all these things in motion to just abandon them. That's all. Because I feel like we've all agreed to things in meetings, and then it comes back and we go 180, and then these people get mad at us.
Yeah, so the two pieces of information you're referencing, Mr. Zinke, we didn't have that information 2 weeks ago. So we didn't have any confirmation about the attendance zone. And we still haven't received confirmation about the interfund loan. So at this point, we assume that that's not going to be approved. 2 weeks ago, those things were still pending information on those items. In terms of the rest of the board, I think, they need to provide you information from their perspective as well.
Or even just that information. Like this is the first I'm hearing that of both of those things, right? And so I feel like when people ask me questions, I give them answers based on what the board's decisions have been, whether it's an email or out in public. And then we look like fools occasionally, which is going to happen anyway. I'm not above looking like a fool. I look like one all the time. I don't care. But as a board, as an entity that we are supposed to be gaining people's trust, we make these decisions, and then 2 weeks later, it's 180 degrees. November, we already had this figured out exactly where we are now. So I just, as we get information, maybe it's my personal request that we need a better way of giving it to our trustees, because this is the first I'm hearing of any of these items, any of these changes.
Yeah.
Ms. Reddy.
Being new to this, what I've seen is this is a very fluid situation that you've been dealing with for the last 3 to 5 months. One other element that was new piece of information was evaluation of the property itself. So I think there are 3 elements here that need to be looked at to give consideration to relocating back to the DO. It is a confusing time. There's no doubt about it. And I made mention of that about the paralysis, and you're right about decision-making. I think there needs to be more clarity and preparation, and we'll make sure that we have that going forward.
Ms. Jansen.
So Marcus, first of all, this is my thinking and how my mind I wasn't definitive on selling it to the town of Minden, even though I thought it was a good idea historically, because the building's historical and where it's located. But if that's the best place to have the district office, and I thought we'd get like a couple $1 million for it and it would help our situation. But if it's not helping our situation and it's the best choice for the district office, for administrators, for the community, then that's why I changed my mind, besides the other new information. I just think that if we're not getting a lot of money for it, we should keep it. And that's just my opinion.
No, I completely understand that. I'm not understanding how, again, back in November, like what led us on the path back in November that this was a good idea. We don't know what the appraisal was. And then last week we get the appraisals, and after getting the appraisals, we decided this would be a good idea to get into an interlocal agreement with Town of Minden. Those 2 pieces haven't changed. And again, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because I understand the scenario. I understand how it's changed. I just want to get the information before a meeting. I want to know that we're not going to have the ability to do the loan. I want to know that what the other piece that I was missing until just now, like the distance and proximity for the attendance zone to be something that creates finances or doesn't in this case. Finding out the second I show up here, and no offense, it feels like everyone else knew this information. So I'm just not sure how I didn't have it.
Just 1 second. Have we received a definitive we will not be able to put Jacks Valley as as an additional attendance zone?
So the last time I spoke to Megan Peterson there's no application process. They still do not have an application process. Any new funding from a new attendance zone would not kick in till the next biennium, so the 27-28 school year. It's the people with authority to approve the attendance zone application is the Commission on School Funding. They don't have any future agenda items to review attendance area adjustments. So right now, it's not a possibility because there's no process in place for us to even pursue that. So we're literally at a dead end with that.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she was working on a process with the governor's office and Commission on School Funding. And now, when I call her, it's unresponsive. I've called her 3 times over the last 10 days.
So can I ask, how did we get an additional attendance zone for Whittle and Zephyr Cove if there's no application process?
That happened at the inception of the PCFP. That's how they planned the PCFP for the district.
Oh.
So everybody with their current attendance zones, that started when it was implemented. And there's been no adjustments to attendance area.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
All right, Marcus, here's my answer. When we had our meeting 2 weeks ago, I was under the impression the district office was going to be at CC Manili with preschool. We were still going to be using that building. I think that's why we decided not to make a decision on adding those rooftop units, right? And so I got a lot of emails, especially from pre-K teachers and stuff talking about how important it is that they are part of a school. And then as I researched it more and found out that we're going to need a nurse and we're going to need an administrator and we're going to need, and started seeing all the things that would be needed there, all of a sudden, why did we close CC Manili? Because we're not going to save any money because we're going to still be using it and we're going to need all the same people there. And so, and then as I thought about the district office and having it at a school right now and how uncomfortable that is for me, that people can get in and out, and stuff, that became another concern. So when I got this agenda, I got a little bit nervous because I did not know how to vote on these because I had a lot of concerns. And so I actually had a conversation with Frankie the other day, and I said, I need to know what's happening here because I'm struggling with what we were thinking that we would decide. And through the conversation, I was able to kind of understand some of the things that were going on. That's where I went from. And I will tell you, and I tell people all the time, I come in to these meetings sometimes with an idea of what I think I'm going to do, and it can change in the first 2 minutes of the meeting. But that's what I love because we can get all the input and we can think through what's happening. I do apologize to the public because I do feel like we are running in circles and trying to figure out so much and changing our mind a lot, but we're really trying to look at it from every angle and look at every possibility and then see what we feel is best. And sometimes that is a lot of chasing our tails and a lot of different opinions. And I apologize for that.
Thank you.
So, I mean, just to piggyback on that, in 2 weeks ago meeting, the reason I requested that the rooftop units be moved is I hadn't heard anything about making Manili anything. And I think there's a trend here that I'm not accusing anyone of anything other than my own either inability to get information, which certainly could be my fault, or it not being given to me. Because last meeting, I also was not aware of any idea of keeping Manili open for anything, a preschool or the district office. I had heard none of that. And so I also keep things close to the vest before I come to these meetings. And so if that's the idea by others, fine. But somewhere along the line, I'm not getting information. So I want to get all the information so I can come prepared with what I think we're going to do or what I'm going to do or think we should do. Because that's the whole reason I moved it and I made it clear 2 weeks ago. I hadn't heard anything about Manili in that capacity at all. And again, today, I hadn't heard any of the other details, and maybe no one has. It sounds like some of that this is the first anyone's hearing. But again, November, we could have done this in the drop of a hat and moved on. And that's where we're starting again. So I just, I don't like the look.
Ms. Knighting.
And I believe some of the Manili talk was brought up at some town hall meetings when that was asked of the public of what we were going to do with this building. It was brought up as a possibility of the district office and the preschool. But really in thinking of that and the emails we received about the preschool, and you would really cut into your savings of closing it in the first place. So, but this is the first I have heard of that the loan to ourselves isn't going to work out. But I think another thing that has to be understood is we can't meet outside of this meeting and talk about things. So this is where it's hashed out.
Mr. Brady.
I think we need to focus on the what and not the how right now. We have a recommendation by the superintendent. There seems to be some agreement that maybe this is the right direction to go. Yes, it's been it's like making sausage. It just isn't pretty. But we're at a situation where we can make a decision based on the superintendent's recommendation. That's what you have before you.
Okay, well, I think we will go to public comment at this time and then bring it back to the board. And please remember to state your name for the record. And you have 3 minutes, and the bell will ding when your time is up, not before.
Adrian Sawyer for the record. I came here with public comment that was going to be very different than what it is now. I 100% support keeping the school district office. If you don't, I 100% support selling it to the town of Minden. And I also support the dog park going to the town of Minden. The liability, everything, I think the town of Minden will be a good steward for that. It's necessary. Basically, I think if you're not going to sell it to the town of Minden, if you're not going to sell both parcels to the town of Minden, sell the parcel, the dog park, keep the district office. And I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Do we have any online? Okay. Mr. Frisbee, thank you for joining us.
JD Frisbee, town manager, town of Minden. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the town and the purchase of this parcel. I would be lying if I didn't sit here before you today and say I am frustrated with how this process has taken place. I have had a really good heartbeat on county meetings within Douglas County for the past 10 years. The 15 years prior to that, I worked on a private capacity. I attended 2 to 3 board meetings a week. And to say that this hasn't been one of the most frustrating processes I've gone through would be an understatement. I'll be honest with you, the directions that we've been given, the hoops that we've jumped through, fortunately or unfortunately, we share the same council. We will sit in meetings and then we will part ways and then something will change. The rug will be pulled out and I'll turn to our council and be like, Mr. Russell, did I miss something? And he'll be like, absolutely not. They changed the game on you. And so it is a little frustrating. Obviously, the town has a great desire to obtain this building. I mean, the same desire you guys have. We do feel like we would be wonderful stewards to preserve the nostalgia of that building. I know a lot of our residents attended there. They have been longtime residents and they want to make sure that it goes to a good steward. Obviously, if it's not in your hands anymore. And I'm sorry the appraisals came in where they did. I will be honest with you, they were within $100,000 of what I had them appraised for. And I have a pretty good beat on anything that goes on within the town of Minden. In the onset, I know when you had the insurance claim, it was just north of $1 million. That's kind of where we fell in with this too. The building needs a lot of help. And I think Mr. Johnson did an excellent job in his appraisal of capturing all the needs that were going to be needing to take place in order to occupy that building for other needs outside or even within the district office. It is an older building and it needs some TLC. So we were willing to put, we're planning on purchasing it if it was this board's desire for the appraised amounts that we negotiated, along with we're looking at putting over $1 million in improvements into that building to get it up to where it needs to be and restore it to its intended purpose. So again, we're here to work with you. Hopefully that, obviously it looks like the direction's not going our way as far as the building goes. I hope that may change in the next few minutes, but I do think that we would be good stewards of that. We want to make it our town hall for all time and eternity as long as Minden exists. And it makes a lot of sense to have that in the heartbeat of Minden, which is Old Town. There's no other really places that we can put a building. So you guys have the building. We were hoping to help you guys out in a way and also help us out. But we will definitely live with the results that come from this. But I will tell you, it has been very frustrating from all the conversations we have behind the scenes to when an item gets posted and to find out that things have been changed. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 online.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Cheryl Blomstrom. Imagine how frustrated the public is in this process. I think it goes back 5 or 6 months when I first talked to you about this being radically transparent, and the notion that if you thought you were oversharing information that you should share some more. That advice was clearly ignored. And I think the general public is probably as frustrated, if not more so, than Mr. Frisbee is. And I feel his pain because this has been a really difficult process for everyone. Even a trustee is frustrated tonight, which is really interesting because of the people that you think would be informed, with or without public meeting information out there, with or without a decision in the breach. He should feel comfortable getting and receiving and sharing information with the district office in particular, and apparently that's not happening. So my recommendation again is radical transparency. Share as much as you can and then share some more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melinda, you can go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Melinda, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you anymore.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear that. We can't hear you if you're speaking.
Can't get it. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Hopefully it will continue.
Okay. Okay, good. Sorry, I'm a long distance away. This is Melinda Matus for the record. I want to also agree with Mr. Frisbee and Ms. Sawyer and Cheryl Bloomstrom. It needs to be totally transparent in regard to the district office building and the dog park, which I am wholly in favor of it being a dog park, and that the building be purchased by the town of Minden. It is a historical building that needs to stay as it is for all of time, I hope. So I just wanted to let you know that that is my feeling as a resident within a couple of blocks of that building. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any more online? Any more from our audience? All right, we will close public comment at this time and bring it back for further discussion and questions. Mr. Brady.
We have before us Resolution 26.04. I think we need to identify which parcel we're speaking about if we're going to sell it off as surplus property. But my question is, it's defined here that the revenue from the sale applied to school purposes. I think we need further definition on that.
Yeah, so this resolution was prepared by legal counsel. Any sale of any facility or property would have to be placed into building and sites. So we will follow NRS. And the NRS says that's the fund it goes to.
I'm merely interested in managing expectations as to where we know the money's going. That's all.
I have a question. If we chose to sell off the property, we can't use an interlocal, interfund not transfer, loan. Where could we put the district office if we chose not to
Yeah, so,
keep the building?
so CVMS has 5 vacant classrooms next year. Powaloo has an entire pod. There's some vacant space up at the lake, but not enough for every department from the district. The district could be divided by departments in different schools, which is not ideal. And the district does have fixed assets that are currently being leased, at $1 a year. So, I mean, those are all things that the board can explore.
Ms. Miller?
So it was interesting to hear JD, Mr. Frisbee's, what they want to use it. I don't think that was ever given to us in the past of what exactly they wanted to maintain it, use it as their town hall. So again, as the public needs to understand, as we ask more questions, we get more information and it helps shape everybody's opinion and decision making. And I understand about being frustrated, but I also, for me, I don't want to make the wrong decision either. I want to make sure that we have a district office. If the town of Minden, if we did sell it to them, how were they? And maybe that was a question we forgot to ask in the beginning. But again, this is very new to all of us. This isn't something that we've seen the prior boards have to go through. So we're kind of navigating uncharted waters with a lot of this. And then we were kind of sidetracked with this whole deficit and going in that direction. So we've had a lot of unconventional things happen over the last 6 months with the school board. But it was interesting to hear how he wants to use it and how they want to upkeep it. So that's going to be my question is, are we going to do that if we choose not to sell that building? Are we going to be investing capital improvement for the things that Mr. Johnson had outlined? I mean, the building is not ADA compliant. So we would have to think of that as a potential problem if we ever hired anybody at the district office. How are we going to accommodate that? Are there other buildings that would accommodate that for the district office? These are questions now that I'm hearing one thing leads to more questions that I didn't have at the beginning. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, and as a 5-year capital improvement plan is presented to the board, you'll have a better understanding of the facility needs across the whole district. In my meeting with Mr. Demas today, he felt well, first off, he showed me pictures of the attic. They blew insulation in the attic and they're getting ready to put the walls back into that building. He felt that the district office could go 3 years without any further repair.
So my opinion is that while it may not be what we were hoping to get out of it, I feel like selling it to the town of Minden would be beneficial for our community. And I think that would be a really good thing. And we do have other assets that we can look at putting the district office at. And I think that I would rather sell off the district office than sell a school building and wish we had a school building back. I just feel like we live in an economy where who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We could sell it and property value tanks. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, and really unlikely here in Douglas County. But I feel like it would be a good decision for our school district to move in that direction. But that's my 2 cents. Mr. Brady and then Mr. Zinke.
Can you clarify, move in what direction?
To proceed with selling off both parcels.
The deal. You know, I think it's important that we keep our eye on the ball. We have a recommendation from the superintendent. You have a habit of ignoring recommendations from the superintendent. That's what gets us into a lot of trouble. That's why we've had the runaround. I think there needs to be clarity in the decision-making process. I necessarily think there needs to be better preparation. So Mr. Zinke is better, has the information he needs to make informed decisions. And that can all take part in advance of the meeting. But let's remember what the recommendation of the superintendent is.
Thank you. Mr. Zinke?
Along those lines, I think Superintendent Alvarado and I agree on 99% of the things, but their recommendation isn't always going to be in line. His recommendation isn't always going to be in line with the board's and vice versa. That's why it's set up this way, right? And so just because he has one doesn't mean that we should absolutely follow it. There's going to be times that we get it wrong, he gets it wrong. That's the whole point of boards. So I kind of discount that as an idea. We have to do what's best for the district. And so if his recommendation is what's best for the district, that's certainly what we can have a debate about. You mentioned a facility that has a $1 a year lease. Is that the Heritage Building or the Historical Building? The Historical Society? That's the one in front of CVMS?
It's the museum in front of CVMS, yes.
And does that cost us any money every year?
Yes, we pay over $20,000 a year in costs.
To support the Historical Society. We spend all the money.
Well, not necessarily to support, but we have to have property and liability insurance. When I was arriving, they had just finished a termite project, both at CVMS and at the museum. Just learned today we have another termite issue at CVMS. Maybe we have another termite situation at museum. So, a lot of this deferred maintenance stuff is costing the district, and, $1 a year doesn't break us even. And really, I think I don't know if we're getting off topic, and we could definitely bring back a future agenda item for the fixed asset item.
I mean, it's tricky, right? Because the whole point of this is that we need somewhere for the district office to go. So if the idea is that we need somewhere for the district office to go to make this decision, then I don't think I'm off topic. I just want to get to the bottom of, again, whatever is best for this. If that's talking rents later or whatever, fine. I believe that the I know the Chamber of Commerce is in there. I go to meetings there, and I think the Visitors Authority is there. Do they pay rent?
I don't know. Our agreement is with the Historical Society, and then they've subleased out portions of that building.
So they sublease to the others.
Correct. And we don't have a copy of that lease. We don't know what revenue they bring in, but I'm assuming that revenue they utilize to support the Historical Society.
So you can see where I'm going here.
Yeah.
If we're looking at revenue streams, which is the whole reason we were talking about potentially moving the district office to Pawalu or to the other part of the town, then we were in agreement, at least in some capacity, that would work in a scenario that we needed a district office. In moving the district office there, we were anticipating or hoping that it would provide money. The fact that we're not getting money doesn't mean that it doesn't work anymore. It's just not as beneficial. Same with this. If I'm not saying anything about kicking the Historical Society out or anything like that, but if we are spending over $20,000 a year on keeping up a building that they are subleasing to the chamber and to the Visitors Authority, that to me is, then we get $1.5 million or whatever the negotiated amount would be for the district office. We try to move our building over to the Historical Society's building, whether they can keep the museum or not, who knows? That's kicking the can. I know how that sounds, but that'd be $1.5 million. It would be a building we already own and spend $20,000 a year on upkeep on. I don't see the negative here. At some point, we have to do what's best for the district, not what's best for other entities in the county. So there's 2 more cents that I'm sure help make this more confusing.
Ms. Jansen?
Mr. Alvarado, is the historical building, I've been in there, the museum, it doesn't seem like it would be conducive to a district office, but you would know better than I would. Tell me if is it conducive? Would it take years Could you move right in next year?
If right now we're talking about a what if scenario, right?
Mhm.
And so it's a great building, has enough capacity for the entire district office, enough office space for the entire district office. It even has enough space to bring different programs to the district office that are currently at other schools.
Sounds like a good option. Thank you.
Mr. Brady.
I think this is a discussion for a different day. I would trust legal counsel to address that issue. We have before us the resolution and we're going way off topic. I get the idea of alternatives, but that's a discussion that is not placed before us today.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion or questions from the board for legal counsel or for superintendent?
Well, I would ask legal counsel if the resolution is based on the ability to get rid of a building that is considered a surplus, as it's stated in the agenda item, and that the portion that's holding us back is where do we put the district office? Is this not the correct forum for that? Or do we need to make a decision on this and bring that portion back for a future discussion?
I mean, I think you're right. There is some relation as far as I think there's some latitude to discuss where it could be, but we can't make any decisions about where that would be tonight. I don't think we're agendized for that. And then in the context of revenue, we might be a little bit off topic there, but in terms of locations, possibilities, I think that's within the item to some extent.
So for the sake of this agenda item, it could be that we make a decision about the building and the dog park itself. And then I would like to request a future agenda item to discuss the potential of moving the district office into a location that is agreed upon by our board that it works and by the superintendent's office, at which point then we could go further with this discussion and other real property.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's probably the best option then.
Okay. Ms. Miller?
So Mr. Alvarado, I know that you said that you would, if the current district office is a good location for the district office, but with all the other properties, is there another location that you could see the district office going into? I think that's one of the things that's holding some of us back right now. We want to make sure that with what you know of all the properties, there is a good location if we were to sell this property, that the district office would have a good home.
Yeah, so what I mentioned earlier in the conversation is that we have a whole pod at Pawalu, right? The whole district office could fit in that one pod. It's not ideal. We would have a separate entrance, at a different
That was going to be
portion
my
of the building.
question. Since
But we can make it work, right? And then the 5 vacant classrooms at CVMS, is another option. But once again, we're at a school facility again. So then we look at to the other assets that we have there, and there's a long-standing partnership with the Historical Society, where a lease for 100 years for $1 a year was agreed to in the late 80s, right? And so that's really the only facility that would be ideal for the district office if you were to sell the property at Mono Avenue.
Okay. I think that's helpful to understand. While your recommendation is to keep the district office at the district office, but once we hear Mr. Frisbee's like that he wants to keep that building intact, I think that's a huge positive for the community. And the fact that there are other options for our district office to stay intact as a group to keep that collaborative piece is also really good to hear too. So thank you.
Anyone else like to make Ms. Jackson?
Can you explain a little bit more about this 100-year lease? Can we get out of it? How does that work?
Can we talk about that on this item?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, but it's something that we can look into
Can we talk about it though?
right now.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a little bit off topic, I think, but I guess it's
Okay.
potentially related in the sense that that lease is related to
Yeah.
what you can do with the building.
So we have
Correct.
conducted a legal review. I will send the email from Mr. Russell to the entire board so that you can see that.
About the lease, is that what?
Correct.
All right. That would, I think would be helpful. Unfortunately, we don't have that information tonight before making a decision.
Well, you don't need that information tonight because it's not
Right.
for this item. Yeah.
So-
No, but one may have bearing on the other.
We can get out of the lease. Yeah, we have the option to get out of the lease.
I think
Yeah.
that is the information that the
Yeah.
board would need.
Which order do we take these for a motion? And to clarify, a motion would be to enter into an interlocal agreement about either parcel or both parcels with Town of Minden. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can make whatever motion you want to make. I mean, I think there has to just be clarity in terms of there's two parcels and then there's two decisions in front of you, which is the public process, the public bidding process, or the interlocal process. So just as long as there's clarity on that front, you can move forward with the motion, and then you can always have a second motion to clarify rejecting certain scenarios as well.
Okay,
So
so
that makes sense.
I think I got this. I'd like to make a motion to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Town of Minden for the vacant parcel on Mono Avenue. Does that work?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Zinke, a second from Ms. Jansen. Any further discussion or questions?
For the vacant parcel, are you just talking about the park or are you talking about the building as well?
Touche. The building is vacant right now. The park for the vacant parcel adjacent to the district office for the sake of whatever Town of Minden likes to use it for.
Okay. Mr. Brady?
Can you identify the parcel?
I believe that's the APN 13203211000041638 Mono Avenue. Or is it the district lots 13 to 24?
Yeah, let's say it that way. I don't know that we need to give a full legal description of the property. I think it's district lots 13 through 24. I believe it's I think it's the APN that ends with 005, but I don't know that that needs to be in the motion. I think everything's been put on record and the notices have been given, so there's adequate direction as far as what will happen next if the board goes forward.
So do I need to clean this motion up?
I think we're okay actually.
Okay.
'Cause there was clarification. I think that
Okay, Mr. Brady?
Just to be clear,
Okay.
it's a dog park. Okay.
Are we gonna no, just, I have a question. Are we doing the parcels separate or do we do them together?
the motion right now
Is there-
is on the dog park.
Right.
So I think what would happen next, depending on the vote, is you could make a motion to reject other scenarios, which would be the sale of the district office.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure
Then
I
you'd have clarity.
am
Yeah.
understanding and clear on decision. Any further questions or discussion? All right. All in favor of the motion to sell the district, to enter into an interlocal agreement for the dog park, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Did you have another one?
I've got lots, President Wagstaff. Is this the then appropriate time to request more information about the future area for the district office and potential future locations? So that we can make a good decision in the future. about
Yes, we will
where-
agendize that in the future. I'll bring it to the officers in the officer meeting.
Okay, I'd like to have a lot of information first before we have like the decision-making part, right?
Yeah, the
If we
problem
can
is when you
figure out-
put things on an agenda, we could only release information to the board at the same time we release information to the public. So, it-
I mean, like okay, well, what about just the validity of the location, right? So you're telling us that Paulaloo may work. I guess I'm requesting that specifically the areas that the district office could go some sort
Options
of
for the
formal
district.
presentation, sure,
Yeah, no
or,
problem.
or options for such.
And if we get that information, can we bring potentially the district office, the current district office back after we get information for the potential sell? And if the town of Minden is not furious at us.
Yeah, you can always bring an item back for the board
Okay.
to consider and take action on.
Okay. Thank you. I'm trying.
I'm trying to make them up. Okay.
I think mine kind of got answered. I was just thinking, I think we're done with this item now. We don't have to make a motion on the other part because we're done with this item and now we're going to move forward in another meeting about where the district office will be and we will make further decisions at that time. But now we are finished with this item.
Well, I think we're finished with item number 6, but we haven't taken a vote on item number 5
I
yet.
mean, you can do it like how we did it last time, where you can observe that there is no motion. You could do a motion to reject the item if you want, or you could observe that there is no motion and you could just pass the item. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's essentially the same, the same action.
Okay, so then we can just go on to agenda item number 4.
I would suggest that you just ask if there's a motion on item number 5, and
okay.
if there's not, then we just pass the item.
Okay. Is there a motion on agenda item number 5? Ms. Knighting?
I just want to make one observation with, first of all, I think we're dragging this out and not making decisions. But as we consolidate schools, we may find we have a lot of buildings that we need to do something with. The trend of population, our population in the schools going down is continuing. And I don't know that's, but we do have a buyer for this property tonight. And I don't know if they want just half the property. But I feel like we maybe should make a decision here.
Mr. Brady, did you have?
Wow. I get why you're where you are today. This decision-making process is extremely convoluted. You're ignoring the recommendation of your superintendent, which you pay him good money for. And now we're going down a rabbit hole, which could very well displace a lot of other entities and upset some of the people in this community that have deep, deep roots. I don't think you want to go there.
So do I have a motion on number 5? Okay. Then we will move on to agenda item number 4. Oh, wait, do I need to take public comment on that? Because we did not.
We did.
We did
combined
for
the items
5
and you
and
took public
6.
comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right, then we will move on to agenda item number 5, the formal consolidation. Number 4, I'm sorry, the formal consolidation consideration. Mr. Alvarado.
Okay, so I want to confirm with the board, at the last meeting on February 3rd, you authorized me to file the legal notices for the consolidation of C.C. Manili to Scarcelli Elementary. I'm confirming with you that all of those notices have been filed. We are legally compliant, and the board can discuss and take action on this item today. If you want me to remind you of the items that have been discussed in the past, I can do that. I feel like we're in a good place with this item, and everybody's on the same page with the direction you want to go. But if there's any questions, I am here to answer those.
Are there any questions from the board? Ms. Jackson?
Can you just explain, because it says on here, the board shall consider delegating authority to the superintendent for all operational decisions pertaining to the consolidation. Can you explain what operational decisions, what authority that refers to?
That's the staffing allocation piece, transportation routing, et cetera. So those are the operational pieces that we need to plan when you're consolidating a school. There will be a future agenda item for the board to consider attendance district boundary adjustments. We are planning that for next week, March 19th. And so really the operational items is assigning staff, rerouting kids through transportation, looking at school nutrition, whatever their needs are there as well, and then putting all those things in motion.
Okay, thank you. So it doesn't have to do with the boundaries of what kids are going there because that's coming before the board next week. It's more of just
all the logistical stuff. Yes.
That's under our way below where we're supposed to stay, under the 30,000 feet.
That's right. That's the management piece, not the oversight piece.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea because we don't know. I mean, I've toured Scarcelli. I know teachers there, but we don't know the ins and outs of the district, and the numbers have been presented to us for allocation of faculty and students, but that's something that is above our purview, I would say. So I like this idea.
Anyone else? Ms. Miller?
So I know this is under your purview, but I know I did receive some questions about the pre-K program that is at CC. Is that going to continue? I know right now the buildings have like mold, and so we have to move them anyways. So I just those were questions that were brought up to me. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of those questions, as that does fall under, if we do this, that is an operational decision. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of those concerns.
So that's a grade level organization decision. The board does have rights to determine, the grades that we service at each of the schools. And so what I anticipate is we bring back a presentation for locations for the district office. I will also add to there a recommendation for new location for Aspire High School, as well as a recommendation for where we should place the pre-K program.
I just want to make sure that those kids that's our future. And so I want to make sure that our community sees that we are trying to make sure that our future kids have a continuing place to go during this transition. So thank you.
Yeah. And the decision on that hinges on the district boundary adjustments. So that's why we'll do that all at the same meeting.
Thank you. Did you have your hand up, Susan? Okay. I'm just making sure. Any further questions or thoughts, Mr. Zinke?
So again, in moving the rooftop unit agenda item to this week, we would need to determine if we're going to use Meneely for anything, right? And so do you recommend we use Meneely at all? Because that's a decision that we should make right now in order to move forward with other items.
So in order to guarantee savings, the best option is just to close Meneely and not have any staff or any students there. I mean, that guarantees us the savings, right? And then utilize the other facilities for the programs that we have and go from there. There is concern about savings, right? If you're putting pre-K there and you're having these other staff, are we really saving that amount of money? So not having anybody there at all guarantees that.
So would we want, excuse me, legal counsel, would we want to, in our motion, expressly state the closing of Meneely? So it could be like, we will delegate the authority to Frankie with the exception that Meneely will close completely?
Yeah, I think that's part of your purview as the board to decide to close a school or not. Yeah.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when we talk about a school, there's a difference between a school consolidation and a school closure. And there are very, very strict laws around school closure.
Yeah, and we've complied with all of
Okay.
those.
I just wanted to make
prepare the
sure.
board to make that decision. Yeah,
Okay.
all the notices for that have been sent out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just
Yep.
wanted clarification on that.
Correct.
All right, any other questions or thoughts from the board? All right, then we will go ahead and open it up for public comment at this time on agenda item number 4. It has to be on the formal consolidation consideration.
Brian Patrick. Regarding movement of offices and schools and consolidation, I'm going to throw something out here, and I don't know, because we like going down rabbit holes. Okay. If you were to keep the pre-K at Manili and you were moved the district offices to Manili and you move Aspire to Manili, you're probably using 2/3 of that building. Okay. And you have a cafeteria so you can feed the people from Aspire. You know, I'm just throwing that out there and letting you can chew on that for the next 4 years. But I'm just making an idea.
Thank you. Do we have any online? All right. Mr. Spires.
Good afternoon, everyone. I knew this was coming. We all knew this was coming, so I'm not here to say anything about that. I think for the sake of the record, this is a heavy decision, right? And it stinks. But I think it's my duty at least to say that having a school closed has been part of our community for over 40 years is a really big deal. There's people in this room that went to that school. It's sad. And I think I just want to mark that it's tough to think about that school not serving kids. Not sure what will necessarily happen with it, but for everybody that went there, just tonight's a big night and a big decision, and I'm ready to move forward with the rest, but I at least wanted to put that on the record. So thank you guys for being thoughtful through this process.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment at this time and bring it back to the board for further discussion. Ms. Jansen, did you have a question?
Make a motion.
Oh, okay. Ms. Knighting?
And this may be for legal. I think it's important that we say we are consolidating these schools, though, because it has great implication for the staff of these schools as opposed to a closure. So we're consolidating and moving to this building and not utilizing the other. But to say we are closing the school and not say consolidation, you would treat staff and the people that work there differently in a consolidation versus a closure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the motion that the board makes, but you can state that, yeah, you're consolidating and you're going to look at consolidation in terms of staff and everything, but the physical building itself will be closed for school purposes. That's my understanding of the question that I was asked earlier. So, but you can clarify that. Yeah.
I think that's very important because with consolidation of staff, everyone is on an equal footing. And if you close a school, the staff of the closing school would be different. They would go into the pool of the whole district, not a consolidation of equal. I just think we have to be very careful in how we phrase this, that we are sure that it is a consolidation we are doing.
Thank you. Mr. Brady?
What might be the recommendation of the superintendent?
We are shrinking as a school district, right? We're declining enrollment. We're declining enrollment even greater down in the ranchos, and we're looking at boundary adjustments. My recommendation is to consolidate CC into Scarcelli.
Is closure part of that recommendation?
Closure is a slightly different process with the Nevada Department of Education. So there is paperwork we will need to file to technically close the school. But Trustee Knighting is right about we should phrase this as a consolidation because that is why we're doing this work. We are merging the two schools. It's not just a closure where, kids will not be serviced in that community.
Okay, so we're talking about consolidation, not closure. Thank you.
Mr. Zinke?
Are the semantics on this then that we state that we want to abandon CC Manili? I mean, obviously the consolidation part, I understand, but for the utilization of a building or not, I'm talking about closing the building, not the closure of a school, which does have different implications. So I just want to get the verbiage right here.
Right. I think the concern is the operational cost of the building, right?
Correct.
So it sounds like the motion is something that the building would be non-operational to save costs. I think that's what we're looking at here.
Okay.
Ms. Miller?
Now, when we were looking at consolidation scenarios, there is still some costs associated with heating elements due to the buildings. So there is still some kind of cost associated, even though we will not be utilizing the building.
All right. Oh, sorry.
I would like to make a motion that we consolidate CC Manili and Scarcelli into the Scarcelli building and do not utilize the CC Manili building for educational purposes.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Knighting and a second by Ms. Jansen. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with heavy hearts unanimously. All right, so we will move to agenda item number 3, our rooftop unit replacement project. Thank you so much for coming, gentlemen. We appreciate you being here. All right. Fire away.
Go ahead. Scott McCullough, Douglas County. We are here to present the same contract for approval as last time with ACO. ACO has held pricing for the base bid, which is CC Manili, and the additive alternate of Jacks Valley rooftop units. So with that, we were available for questions.
Ms. Jackson.
So now that we decided we're not using CC Manili, the obvious question is there a way to take that out and that they would do Jacks Valley only?
Yes, they will do that, and we'll enter in a contract for Jacks Valley only. And again, it was agreed, they agreed they'd do that because the bid documents, utilize CCS base bid with additive alternate Jacks Valley, but they said they'd do either, whatever is the pleasure of the board is.
Ms. Miller.
So with not utilizing CC Manili and utilizing Jacks Valley, is there another location that could be utilized along with this bid with ACO?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you have a public works project, we have to bid the work, and to bid the work, we need bid documents, which are plans and specifications provided by a mechanical engineer. And that process is usually a 3 to 6 month process to get to a bid, to get to award. So to pivot that quickly to use somewhere else is really not practical for doing summer work. I mean, you could then say, we take that difference in budget funding and look at another project, but it's not going to be delivered for another 6 to 9 months, depending on the degree of that project.
Okay, I appreciate it. I just didn't know. I know that Jacks Valley and CC were very similar, but I didn't know if there was another unit that could take that place. So thank you for explaining that. So thank you.
Ms. Jansen.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for being here. How much of a savings will we get if we only do the one school, Jacks Valley? Do you have an idea ballpark?
Yes, it was set up in the bid documents that way where we had base bid
Right.
price and then an additive alternate. So this would just be the additive alternate price for Jacks Valley, which was $998,750 for this contract. And that would be the amount that the board would approve, plus a 5% contingency for possible change order authorized by the superintendent.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Brady?
You mentioned change orders. Those are the kiss of death. What is the history with ECHO with respect to change orders?
Very minimal. This is a straightforward project, but when you put a new unit on the roof, a lot of times you have to reinforce the structure for the heavier unit or a newer unit. So those are the unknowns that once we get into that roof, there's a possibility of some unanticipated. But the unit itself, the bulk of the project, we don't expect any change order on the mechanical side of the project. It's simply curb and roof modification to take the new units.
And that's at 5%.
Max, right? I mean, and again, we haven't exceeded a 5% max, in the 15 years I've been running a project. So usually the intel and the investigation is pretty good, but again, it's there so we don't have to delay the project to come back to the board for ask for a change order amount.
Any other questions? All right, we will go ahead and open it up for public comment at this time.
Marty Swisher, Gardenville resident. I've thought a lot about this particular project because if the intent is to close CC Manili and not use it for anything and eventually sell it, that's the commitment you make tonight. If the intent is to use it to lease it or potentially have other programs in there in the future, you want to consider approving the AC and heating for Manili, because if that unit fails, you can't serve anyone in that building. And if you go to sell it, probably whoever's buying it is going to say, oh, we know that the AC and heating unit is probably on its last legs, so the price will go down. My concern is that from what I heard last time, we got a pretty good deal with this particular company for offering 2 units. If we want to keep Manili viable, you might want to consider that. Plus, the capital improvements allocation has already been made by the district. The money's there. The money you're going to save, which would be potentially $990,000 plus, which is a lot of money. My question would be, what would we use that for? Because it's capital improvement. Can we use it for textbooks and things like that? Buses, potentially. Those are good things. But the decision you make tonight on Manili by not putting this unit on the roof, I think dooms it to potentially not being used in the future for any students or for any lease options. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board for discussion. Ms. Knighting?
And this may be a question for Phil or Scott. If this unit were to fail, would the pipes freeze at Manili?
Scott McCullough, Douglas County. Each project consists of 4 rooftop units. So if you look at the gymnasium space at either Jax or CC, there's a very huge unit, a 20-ton unit on the top that controls the area for most of the gymnasium. The other rooftop units provide heat and cool for various parts of their school. So if the likelihood of all going out at the same time are unlikely, which is possible due to their age, with no heat, yes, you would risk a freezing condition if there was no heat provided in winter months without one of the units in that certain area.
So it could potentially destroy cause a lot of damage if these units go out and we still own this building and the pipe froze and burst.
Yes, that is a risk. I mean, again, any risk can be mitigated by draining the school down of any water sense, but you'll still have fire sprinklers that are susceptible to freeze, even though you turn off the domestic water for a building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jansen?
Yes, I'd like to ask Superintendent Alvarado for what he thinks about this. What's his recommendation?
Yeah, so this is an interesting item here. I understand why the board's in a dilemma regarding this. So CC Manili, the district can repurpose this facility, right? The idea presented by our public commenter is a great idea, but we do need to put this information in front of the board on where we're planning on putting programs in the district office at a future meeting. I believe we should save these dollars. We have a plan we wrote to the Department of Taxation that plans on shifting expenditures over to capital. So saving $1 million, nearly $1 million in capital can really benefit us as we go through the bargaining process with our different associations, because that's a whole different ball of wax as we're looking at our deficit, which in that second augmented budget has now shifted from 4.6 million down to 2 million. We still have a ways to go. And so my recommendation would be to just repair Jacks Valley at this time. We do run the risk. However, we do have 2 HVAC personnel on our staff. And I don't, I would pose a question to Mr. Demas about whether we can do routine maintenance on those units, because we do have 2 staff that specialize in that area, and ensure that we're checking on those units monthly. And as at the point where those employees determine that those units are failing, then that would trigger, future board action.
Like Marty Swisher said, they are on their last leg. We just put a couple new pumps in, not pumps, but motors in that were needed, and they need a lot of work. They're original to the building, and like I told you a month ago, they're in real bad shape. But if we're going to close the school, then I think we can do away with not doing the work. But if it's going to be used potentially for any reasons, I think we should do the work.
Ms. Jackson?
I don't know if this is getting off topic, but just will it come back as a future agenda item of what we want to do with that school? Or we close it, then what do? We just let it sit there and, or what would be the plan?
Yeah, I think that's a future agenda item where we discuss either repurposing the facility, leasing the facility, selling the facility. We should start with a discussion by the board before we even consider any action, and then see where that discussion leads before we schedule an agenda item for action.
Mr. Zinke?
Well, I was just going to say, we just discussed not using Manili in our motion. Obviously, repurposing is a different idea, but we just agreed we're not going to use it. So why dump nearly $1 million into a building we're not going to use? And I understand Mr. Swisher's point that there might be utility in the future, but I don't have a crystal ball, right? What I do know is we're down 3,000 students from when we were the same number of facilities back in 1999. So at some point we have to start being more efficient. And I know it's different because we're declining and there will be shrinking pains, I've been calling them, instead of growing pains, but that's the reality of this situation. And we got a lot of grief for kicking the can, but if we just saved $1 million, I'll kick it every time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Miller?
I like the idea of us keeping tabs on it while it is being vacant. I think that's huge. So if there is a failure, the district can act on that. But we don't know what we're going to utilize that space for now. So investing $1 million into it when we're still in a deficit, even though it's coming from a different budget, is a little concerning. Plus the fact that we are utilizing capital funds for textbooks and other things that are pertinent to what we're here for, which is student enrichment and student growth. I think that's where we need to be spending those funds.
Thank you. Would anyone like to entertain a motion? Ms. Jansen?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and complete a project for Jacks Valley Elementary School for the heating and cooling unit on the roof. I don't have to say anything about Manili.
Oh, yeah, you have to state the company that we're going with.
Oh. We will be going with the Echo company who gave the lowest bid.
We have a motion by
Second.
Ms. Jansen, a second by Mr. Zinke. Any further discussion or questions? Mr. Demas?
Could you please include in that motion the 5% authorization for possible change order?
I'd like to add that there is a 5% possibility for a change order added to the contract.
Second.
Could we do that way? Okay. All right. Just making sure. Can you say that into your? No, turn your microphone on and there you go.
Could we add into the amended motion to include the cost of $998,750? You're okay with that? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Does that all?
Yeah, so I think that was a motion and then a second. It was just seconded.
Okay, so we need to
Or-
vote on.
Yeah, the amended motion.
We have to vote on the amendment to then vote on the original.
Yeah, yeah, I think you could just vote on the motion's been amended, so you can vote on the motion.
Okay.
I don't know that you need to vote on the amendment separately. I think you could just vote on the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So all in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. We appreciate you coming. All right. So at this time, we will open it up for public comment. And this is for public comment on anything not on the agenda.
Adrian Soy for the record. This has been one of the most frustrating meetings. This board is wreaking havoc throughout the community, all because of the previous board not doing their due diligence with the budget. Kicking out the Historical Society, Chamber of Commerce, and Visitors Authority to put the district office in that building is crazy. They are community partners that you are going to need in the future. I think this is insane that you just keep spitballing all these ideas and leaving fires that the community now has to put out all over. The spitballing is out of hand. The tail chasing is not helpful. The lack of the trust that this board has gained is on thin ice. The community is stressed out. We need some idea. We need some solid answers. We need action. All of this is so stressful. Parents don't know where their kids are going to school next year because it's going to be redistricted. We need to know these things. And to come here and have an hour and listen to the town of Minden say that they were frustrated with the process, the community is frustrated with the process. I'm sure you are frustrated with the process, but the lack of transparency is out of control. I had no idea that it was even an option to not sell the district office. None of that was, and I get that this is now where that is all coming out, but this is frustrating as a community member. You are in charge of our children. It is getting less and less, I'm getting less and less faith in this district to be able to take care of them when you cannot make a decision. It's just getting very frustrating. Please do better. Please, more transparency, more decision-making. Yeah, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any online? All right.
Here we go. Carly Keister Strauss for the record. This might be a left field situation, but it's all connected. I'm coming here as a recently retired employee of Douglas County School District, and I want you to know that I have always, my whole life, wanted the best for this school district. Being raised here, my parents worked here. I worked here my whole career. My children went to school here, still going to school here. It matters to me, and I feel like we've just lost the purpose. So here's my topic. When you look at the goals of Douglas County School District, the number one goal says, this is right off the webpage, implement a relevant and rigorous curriculum. And I'm sitting here as someone who spent my life, last 12 years of my career here in professional learning around mathematics, we have not adopted a math textbook in a long time. We're way beyond our textbook adoptions. And I get there's a budget crisis, but I've listened to every meeting, and you always talk about keeping this as far away from kids as possible and not putting high quality instructional materials in their hands is as close to kids as you can get. I mean, Heather and I sat on a high school adoption when our kids were in elementary school. That's the textbook they're still using now. It's over 10 years old. It wasn't standards aligned when it was adopted. That wasn't anyone's fault. It just wasn't out there. There weren't standards aligned materials then. There are now. In our middle school adoption, my son was in middle school, he's a senior. We did a 3-year adoption of that material because we knew all of our textbook agreements would be expired. And we could, for the first time in the history of the universe, adopt a material, high quality standards aligned material that would be K Algebra 2. That has never happened. They didn't exist. They do now. There are great materials out there. And I looked, taxation document, follow-up report. Everyone in the world should read that. It's page 12. It says textbook adoption freeze, unspent $200,000. Okay, planned adoptions, this is quoted, planned adoptions postponed indefinitely. And that is where I'm concerned. Outdated math materials aren't good for kids. Math instruction needs a textbook, and I don't think all subjects do. Math does. We're asking teachers to do a lot, and asking them to generate standards aligned math problems is not fair to them. I would much rather have a resource that they can use that is high. Then we can talk about instruction, right? We need materials, so we can talk about instruction. That's what school districts should be doing. That's my time.
Thank you. We have one online.
How does you
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
This is Melinda Matus for the record. I am just, I know we are not supposed to talk about what's been on the agenda, but my concern is any building that the school district has that potentially has a vacancy in it, how much damage is going to happen? How much destruction could happen? What is the insurance policy state if the building is vacant for some period of time? I hope that all of these issues have been evaluated very, very carefully so that, you know, the school district is covered should something happen on those premises. And what about the community around it if we don't keep it up, if we don't take care of it? What happens to their value of their assets, their homes? These are all things that have to be considered about this property. And thank you.
Thank you. Any more online? Okay. Any more from the audience?
Brian Patrick again. Had I known when I walked in that we were going to not put the district office up for sale with an interlocal agreement, I'm quite surprised and I'm disappointed. Because once again, you kick the can further down the road. You know, I'm disappointed that you're not taking care of the CC Manili and and you got a deal. You got a deal on these air conditioners. In 3 years, they could be twice as much, if not more. When somebody comes up and says, yeah, I'll buy the building, but you put the air conditioning back on it. You know, if anything happens, if there's a huge freeze and you have damages in there, we're going to have to fix all that stuff. God forbid there could be bats or bees. You know, I'm disappointed in where you guys are going. I'm disappointed in the lack of a plan that accesses things and moves things along. Everything has every other week. There's another something or other you're coming up against. I don't understand where that comes from.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right.
Mary Porter, I just want to say that I'm really pleased with all the time you're taking to look at this carefully. I think that you're doing your very best, hardest work. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it as a citizen of the county. So you heard a lot of criticism, but I felt I needed to put in my 2 cents. And maybe that just is a 2 cents that'll help us meet our $2 million deficit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, then at this time we will close public comment and our meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.